So Earplay, we began way back in 2013 and created the first sort of interactive radio drama. The idea that you could be inside a story, an audio story, where you're using your voice to path this way or that, and that the way that you make your decisions, you choose options with your voice to affect the story and have different outcomes. So it's kind of like an interactive radio drama, where you're inside an audiobook where it changes based on the character choices or the action choices you make.
Right.
And voice is that human interface or the input that is used in order to exert that change in the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we got rolling and made that very first one, but along came Alexa and many other opportunities where more and more and more people were playing or using their voice to interact with their entertainment. And so naturally, the work we had done, the technology we had built became much more useful. And so we've opened that up to other people and are creating, I think we did like 80 hours of interactive audio in 2018.
That's amazing.
So that's us in a nutshell.
That's so cool. Now, you're a celebrated company. You're working with some of the biggest companies. At the Alexa conference just a few months ago, you won Alexa Developer of the Year.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, it's a big deal, the stuff that you guys have accomplished, but I want to shift over to the hurdles, the objectives, some of the hard things that you face, because the fact is, that's what people really want to hear about. So what are what's a thing or some things that have just been like, wow, that was unexpected, or kind of knew it was coming, but we didn't really know how to navigate this. I mean, there must be some really unique challenges in what you've done.
Yeah, so, we started again on iOS, and we, from the beginning had developed sort of this online system and an engine to sort of run things and a delivery of audio files. And, it was very difficult at the earliest stages because voice speech processing was not like it is now, where there are a lot of different, services you can work with that have that. And so that was very difficult. And we had to limit our vocabulary even in the very first version of Codename Cygnus. It was only like 8 words for different scenarios that could be applied. So that was very tough. But it taught us a lot about how to make creative decisions and keep things within scope. And as things move along, what was interesting is as the user interface became easier to design for, and it was easier to work with, for example, Alexa Skills Kit or Google Actions, that sort of thing. We found it became more difficult to do the audio because these newer voice services were mostly working in speech or text to speech, and they weren't thinking about fuller, 2 to 3 minute audio files followed by prompts and that sort of thing. So it was funny. It's like everything that we had kind of done at the earliest stage that was easier suddenly became more difficult, and it kind of flip flopped for us. Yeah.
On stage, you even talked about some of the big problems that are being faced.
Yes.
Especially with VUI and UX, it's all new.
Yeah.
Andrew from Google was just before you. He's like, I was trained as a screen UX designer. Now I'm like delighted. I mean, he lit up. He got so excited.
Yeah, very excited.
But there's a lot of things we have to overcome. What's the biggest thing that when it shifts for a VUX designer, it's going to really make a big difference? Like, what's the biggest hurdle to overcome as an industry for voice user experience designers?
So I think the nexus of VUI and VUX to me is prompt writing. How in the middle, because if VUX is kind of a longer experience where there's a session, a beginning, middle, and end, where a person is interacting with their voice to accomplish certain things or get certain things, and a VUI is merely just that moment, that single moment of input and output. That distinction, I think, it becomes important. And then what is the nexus of those two is at every point of interaction in between there, where you're stringing somebody or moving somebody along in a VUX, the prompt, when Alexa and or the speech text or the audio file prompts the user and says, what do you want? If that's too open-ended, if the possibility space is too great, then the user can be confused. They may wait. They may know what they want to say or not, or they'll try to say something and then they may not get back what they expected, because if you leave it too open, there's too many millions of ways that people can say things, but there's also a way to keep the possibility too tight, where if you're reading too telegraphy about your 3 options, it may be a little bit not as exciting. And so I feel like that's the hardest thing right now for a VUI or a VUX designer to think about, is that prompt writing and how to solicit an input from a user that isn't either too wide or too small of a possibility space, and how to make that make sense even.
Yeah. As far as like VUI, VUX, it's a big focus, but not a lot of people talk about it. I think that you talked more about it in your talk today, from what my producer told me, than a lot of people do. Maybe, so I don't know. Help me understand, why is it a big focus for you as a founder and CEO of Earplay doing all these really wonderful developments.
Yeah, well, I just noticed we have this sort of longer view from having done this for 6 years and saw the industry change a bit along the way. And we always sort of had a distinction between, okay, we're working on the language model, we're working on the VUI stuff, or we're working on the voice user experience, we're mapping it out, we're telling the story, so to speak. And what I found is there was just a lot of confusion among designers, brands that we were working with, even with Alexa and Google, and then the communication on like what is what, and people were sort of misusing terms, and so that became a point of focus for me, is to kind of understand why that was, and I think it was because at the earliest stages of Alexa and Google becoming voice services, a lot of what you saw was ask and answer, or just respond or input and output. What's the weather? What time is it? Tell me a joke, things like that, and so that was a kind of an example where VUI as an interface and then VUX as an experience, they're both squashed together, they're the exact same thing. But once you start to string along experiences and the experiences become longer form, the VUX becomes very different from the VUI. And then again, confusion can occur in terms of how you use those terms, how you talk about these things. And I'm actually really excited to see that more and more people are just saying user experience as opposed to VUI, because at the earliest stage it was like, we're going to make a VUI, and it's like, oh no, you're actually making a full experience here. Things like that. So I think there's a lot of people are coming a long way, but there's still this sort of fundamental miscommunication sometimes among people that are making these things.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to share with the audience listening?
Oh, not much. I mean, I think that here's something. Actually, we're actually nominated for 2. Out of the 5 possible Webbies. Yeah. So the Webbies, this is the first time voice has been used as an award.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, so like best writing. Yeah, so best writing for a voice experience. Awesome. There's like Mr. Robot, Daily 5.9, and Jurassic World Revealed.
So where do they vote for you?
Go to the Webby Awards website. I'm actually not sure what that is, but I know it's like www.bbby.co/vote/voice9, if that can make any sense. But if you go to the Webbies,
you can go to your profile on. Yeah, I saw you post it on LinkedIn.
Did I post it? I think you can go to Earplay's profile. Okay. So mine, I don't know if I actually went out there and said anything.
If we provided you value today, I want you to go to any place Earplay is social, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever. They have the link to vote for them. Vote for the 2 categories that they've been nominated for. Let's come together as a community and make sure that you keep winning awards.
Thanks. And I'll go and I'll pin that tweet. This is what I'll do.
There you go. The tweet's going to be pinned any moment. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks.
I always appreciate time with you. Here comes the Google Pocket Disc. Along with a video, I'll be right back with another interview.